Hi everyone, we are doing a viewer request today, my favorite sew-in Halloween decks of the season. So I have a relatively extensive list here. I'm going to try to not take too much time on everything, not overly chat about the different decks, but I have some ones that I've really been enjoying this season that you may want to add to your collection of decks you're using. I'll talk a little bit about why I'm enjoying certain decks. I'm going to start with the Le Vampire Oracle. I use this deck always this time of year, and this was also on my shadow work deck list for 2019 because it's just, it's that left-hand path, darker side of things that the deck is looking at. It's a vampire oracle, so we're looking at those themes of lust and sex and violence and death and all of those beautiful things. And this deck is really great for shadow work, but also for just different spreads this time of year when you are in that kind of darker, more Halloween, sew-in, horror movie, October Rust typo negative type of mood. This deck really, really lends itself to, to that type of feel and exploration. So this is the Le Vampire Oracle. This deck will come as no surprise to anyone, and it's the Halloween Oracle. I think all of us witchy folk have this deck for this time of year especially. And I think that this deck does a really great job of being perfectly cliche, like honoring the cliche of Halloween, but also giving you some depth and substance to traditional symbolism of Halloween itself. And it's enjoyable to work with. It reads well with others for me. And I like to have it on my altar this time of year just because of the backing. It's like, again, it's perfectly kitschy Halloween. And I love the skulls. Even though they're all the same skull image. Let me see if I can find the other one. Just, that Jimmy Minton worked on differently for each card, but I love the skull imagery as well. So that is the Halloween Oracle. It's great to just get you in the mood for Halloween, get you connected with some substance in relation to sew-in, but also the Americanized holiday of Halloween. It's a really beautiful bridge between the two. Now, Divine Circus Oracle. This deck I use a lot this time of year, especially October into November, because it is kind of a confounding deck, and it holds all aspects within it and can be frustrating, and is very much at least artwork wise, kind of has a darker feel to it. Not darker artwork, but just like the colors in the deck tend to be rich and dark. This is my favorite image in the deck. And also it's the Divine Circus Oracle, so it's got a circus feel to it, which can, work well for Halloween and for shadow work. So the Divine Circus Oracle by Alana Fairchild is one that I really enjoy using this time of year. I've actually had this deck on my altar for most of 2019. Okay, now we're going to, let me do one. I've got one more Oracle deck, and then we will go into the tarot decks because I've got more for tarot. This is the Oracle of Emanations, which I had in my shadow work decks as well. I just love the artwork. I love the deeper, more nuanced feel, the occult feel you get from working with the Kabbalah and archangels associated with the Kabbalah. And there's just something kind of dramatic and dreamy about it. So this is Oracle of Emanations, and I really, really love this deck. Okay, now we go into the tarot decks. So Journey into the Hidden Realms Tarot, or whatever the name of this one is that I always get wrong. You guys know I always have to look at my bookshelf over there to see the guidebook. This deck is really what the energy of autumn in New England and the Fae feel like for me. And I love using this deck this time of year because It's got that moody, earthy, grounded feel to it. Like you can almost smell the damp leaves in the earth and the cold, crisp air. It's such a beautiful deck for this time of year. And again, the colors just really, they lend themselves to the magic of autumn. And also they look lovely on altars as well, because of that coloring. If you're working with a, seasonably themed altar table. This is the backing, which is really beautiful. So that is on my list for tarot decks. The Haunted House Tarot of Haunted House. This deck is perfectly, again, it's like Victorian romance novel meets vampire meets Halloween in my mind. I really, really, really enjoy this deck, and I'm very thankful to the person who gifted it to me. It's just a lot of fun to work with, and it's just perfectly kitschy in the right way, and it's very, very, very easy and enjoyable to read with as well for clients. There's that image. And again, the backing is just glorious for an altar this time of year. Same thing with the Ludi Lescott Tarot. Very New Orleans voodoo, Halloween, yummy vibe. For me, I personally enjoy it, but I'm a big fan of Anne Rice's older works. And this really, really lends itself well to that. Very enjoyable deck to work with, and very moody. It's like you want to light some candles and do a card reading at night. This is the deck you want with you for that. You know what I mean? It's beautiful for that. Okay, the Night Sun Tarot. I love Fabio Listrani. His artwork, those of you who've been following me for a long time know that his artwork is not typically my artwork, but I love what he brings to his decks and how he creates them. And I think that there's, again, like Cavendish and her decks, there's a lot of integrity to his work, and his decks read very, very, very well for me. The Santa Marta deck is almost made this list too, but Night Sun has won her out a little bit right now for me. Santa Marta will be more right after Halloween for me. So like I said, this one has a very clear voice. It's very gritty, kind of dirty, dark, a little bit like the reds, the orange reds and the yellows can be quite almost like disturbing to the eyes at first glance. Very visceral. Gorgeous deck that I really, really enjoy working with. Oh, there's the Hermit. It's great imagery. Here's the Nine of Swords. And despite this being a Scarabeo deck, and so the card quality driving me nuts, the cardstock quality, I love this deck dearly and use it all the time. Wow, I've gotten this list through quickly. It didn't take me half an hour like the other one. The Wooden Tarot. I love the Wooden Tarot, and it's funny because hold on guys, I gotta sip of tea. I've had her in storage for a long time. She was on vacation. Basically the whole time I lived in Portland. I don't think she came out once, which is probably telling. But she's been on my altar, one of my altars, for the last month. And I am really enjoying reconnecting with her. She just brings a simplicity, but still she has kind of a grungy feel to me for Halloween. And it's like a little bit precocious and encouraging you to look elsewhere, outside of the norm for your answers, for an understanding of yourself. There's the Judgment card. I love that one. And I think it's also a little bit tongue-in-cheek and encouraging us not to take ourselves so seriously, which Halloween does encourage us to do, doesn't it, a little bit? And of course, Samhain walks us right through the veil and out the other side, and I think that this deck does that well. Seven of Bones. Oh, So beautiful. It's the Wheel of Fortune. Three of Plumes is lovely as well. So that's the Wooden Tarot. Beautiful, beautiful deck. Very enjoyable to work with. I haven't really read for other people with that one recently. It's purely just been for myself, and I, again, really been enjoying it. And of course, the ultimate Halloween sew-in deck ever. Halloween and sew-in, I should say, not to group them together, is Tarot of Vampires. This is my original copy, as you guys can see. She's beautifully worn in. The edges have been trimmed off, so if you're considering purchasing one, you're going to have to trim your own edges like I did. And then I did my own red, wow, lost the word right now. I did this red myself, the word that I can't think of right now. Oh, that's funny. It'll come to me in a minute. Anyhow, with red permanent marker. So it won't come with the red, and it will come with borders. So if you don't like that and you want your deck to look like this, you'll have to do some TLC to the deck. And I have to redo the permanent marker, you know, kind of seasonally. You can see it's pretty faded right now. She's ready for another one. I tried a Sharpie, and I've tried Copics, a red Copic marker, excuse me. I prefer the red Sharpie. It lasted a lot longer than the Copic. So if you're waffling on that, I would go with the Sharpie over the Copic for, besides the name that I can't think of, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Somebody will post it below for me, I'm sure. Thank you in advance. So let's talk about why this deck is so perfect for Halloween and sew-in. Number one, it's a vampire deck, so we're talking about blood and the soul and energy and love and lust and death and sex and violence and rock and roll, right? Like all those things, like I said earlier for the Le Vampire Oracle. This deck is really great for shadow work, and it's a very intense deck, which works, again, really well for this time of year. So it's one that's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. The guidebook is, I think everyone that reads tarot should at least give that guidebook a go through, even if you never use this deck, just to understand the nuances that Ian brings out in that guidebook. But this is my favorite tarot deck of all time. This is my home deck. I can't imagine not reading with this deck. I love it. So these are my Halloween and sew-in decks, guys. These are the ones that have been calling to me, that have really inspired me, that I keep out on the altar, that I come back to, that I feel really connected to in my personal path, that I really, really love. And they're also perfectly moody and just right for this time of year, and they just lend themselves to this time of year very, very well. So those are my decks. Let me know what you guys are using for sew-in and for Halloween on your altars this year, and I am you know, wishing you all well on your journeys, and sending you much love and many blessings. I'll see you in the next video.